Stop it already.
Jeff Otto.
Jeff Otto, Jeff, I love Mr. Smiles on our first dollar bill.
Mr. Smiles.
We got open microphone too. We also have my lovely wife, Michele Patterson, and Chris Palomarez in the room tonight. And we're going to whoop it up and make some noise, guys. Let's have some fun with this because this is your show. We all do it for you.
Oh.
The tagline.
All right, guys, cameras are rolling. Let's do a countdown. Let's nail number 43. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
All right. In 5, 4.
This is the What's Neat This Week show number 43. This week we've got the most guests that we've had on any show. We're just coming off the RPM meet fresh with a lot of models in our mind. So with that said, I can't even describe to you how much is going to be on this show, but it's going to be the best one yet. So check it out. Get some coffee. The best hobby in the world. What's Neat This Week number 43. The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you. Additional support is provided by Athearn Trains. Check out all their new monthly announcements at athearn.com. And by Bachmann Trains. Now that's the way to run a railroad. Check out their website at bachmanntrains.com. And thank you very much for your support. This is the What's Neat This Week podcast, number 43 for July 21st, 2018. And boy, we got a special show tonight. We're just coming off of the eve of the Prototype Modelers Meet, 2 days of beautiful models that we've seen all day long. And tonight we've got a lot of special guests on the show. I'm going to start. I'm honored to have Kevin Ruble sitting next to me right here. You know him as the proprietor of Caboose in Lakewood, Colorado. I've also got...
Thank you.
We did a fire code count tonight. We're exceeding 50 people, so let's keep that quiet. I've also got George Bogatiuk. Speaking of fire, George Bogatiuk, otherwise known as Goalie George from Traxx tonight.
Howdy.
That's it.
Oh, yeah, come on.
And then there's Matt Herman from ESU Lok Sound. We're honored to have you with us this evening, Matt.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Kevin.
We've also got Jeff Otto from Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply, who is showing a new product that's just announced this weekend. So you guys are going to hear about this first on the What's Neat show, and I love it when that happens. I've also got Matt Gentry from Athearn Trains with us this evening. And we're going to have Chris Palomarez on microphone, and we're also going to have the wonderful girl that opened up the July show for us. My wonderful wife, Michele Patterson, is going to do a little bit tonight with us because we've got 2 open microphones this evening and a lot of folks that want to talk. So starting out with new news today, at the show, Rapido announced a brand new ACF 3,500 cubic foot FlexiFlow hopper. And this thing comes in 3 versions, and it's also available with 100 trucks and 125 trucks. So here are those guys doing a lot of research, another great model company out there. Yeah. They've also announced this beautiful Missouri Pacific passenger car that we have on this table this evening. This is just gorgeous. If you've ever seen the Missouri Pacific train in all of its glory in stainless steel, this model absolutely captures that. So hats off to the gentlemen at Rapido Trains. They were at the show today, and we were honored to talk to them, and we've got What's Neat segments coming up with interviews from all the guys at the show this afternoon. So that's going to be a good thing coming up. Now with that, I want to kind of launch into the part that we've got 2 sound manufacturers here tonight. But we're going to
smack down in the studio.
WWF.
That's you guys. All right, rock and roll. This is a happy show. So with that, what do you think about that, Kevin Ruble? How about that? You're sitting right between both of them.
I think it's awesome. We have these guys here. They both have awesome products, both friends of mine. Mm-hmm. And, I got a question for them, Ken.
Yeah, what's that?
I'll start with Matt.
Uh-oh.
Matt Herman.
Tell us about your passion for trains.
My passion for trains. How long do we have tonight? Well, it started off very, very young. My father was a chief mechanical officer, and he got that job. I worked for the North Shore Railroad in Pennsylvania, and we went out and we rail fanned as Conrail was getting up that line for the North Shore to take over. We went down and we were chasing the train, and we've been doing this for years. And I can remember being invited to come and ride on that train. I don't know why hot dogs are the thing that I was invited to eat there. I remember that for some reason, but we rode the train back, and by the time we got back, the job was offered to my dad, and from that point on, if he was going to work and I wasn't going to school, I was with him. I was on that train, and we were rebuilding things. We were putting horns on stuff. So I mean, it was just constantly around the sound. So at the time, my thought was, okay, well, I'm going to work for Pentrek someday, because I'm watching all these videos. I'm thinking, I can go out and I can do that, and little did I know that I'd be doing that and more, running around climbing all these engines and being around and doing this every day. But he was a modeler. He's the reason that I'm in this. There's no question. So he's kind of got me into this. We're building a layout right now, my brother and I, and
nice.
it's based on the places that we went with my father.
Sweet.
So you and your brother are building this layout together. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is.
That's awesome.
I mean, and that's he left us too soon. My father, he left at 62. He had some brain cancer, and he never really got the opportunity to see the success that we've had building the business. And my brother now works with me, so we do a lot of this kind of in his name, to be very honest.
Cool.
But it's just, we eat, sleep, and breathe trains. I mean, we do this all day long, and we go home, and now we're it's a little bit different speed because we're doing it for ourselves. But to be quite honest, that's how this all started. That's why we have the passion that we do in the industry, because it's our passion too. So it's maybe a little selfish. We want to see this for our own modeling.
It's awesome.
So, yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
How about you, George?
Well,
Tell us about your passion for trains.
Well, like him, I started a lot younger. I was probably about 12, 13. And my dad set up a layout in the garage, just kind of something to play with. And as it always seems to turn out, it becomes the shelf where everything gets stored. And somehow that didn't store my passion for it. I always enjoyed playing with it and kept trying to move stuff around. At least if I had a little bit of track to play on back and forth, at least it was something. And there was a hobby store next to the grocery store that my mom went to, so I went over there and actually got to see real models instead of like the typical toys that you see.
Right.
And it just sparked something, and I've always enjoyed it, and started working for the hobby shop when I was 15, 16.
Oh, wow.
Because they were moving and they just wanted extra bodies. Found out how dedicated I was to working for them and helpful, and they said, hey, you want a job? Sure. So through the end of junior high and high school, I was working part-time for them. And I quit that and just grew and learned, and I had a lot of great people in my life that taught me model railroading and taught me the skills I have now, custom painting, detail work, research upon the prototype and everything, and it just became such an enjoyment for me that through the other years where I spent time in other careers, that I still fell back on model railroading and just enjoyed it, the community, being part of it, seeing everybody in there and talking to people. One of my favorite things was when we'd set up with a train club, I'd be on the outside talking to the people and saying, oh, you want to know how we built this tree, or you want to know how we built this building, or whatever the case may be. And it was always so much fun because they looked at it from a different perspective, and they were seeing it as artwork and beautiful models. And I saw it as just recreating a new world and kind of something in that way. And so the opportunity came up that I found myself needing a job. And so I had the ability to take some time, so I started searching to try to find a career in the model railroad industry, and Traxx was my first choice, mostly because they build here, and that's one of the best things about it. And so they took a chance, they opened the door, and I came in and worked for them. Now I haven't worked in 10 years, and the reason I bring that up is because one of my passions is to, besides the model railroading itself, is helping people, and by doing this and doing my job that I'm paid for, I also get to help modelers enjoy their hobby. And so by teaching them things about, the locomotives, how they work and all that, I feel like in some way I'm paying back to the community that has taught me so much for my enjoyment of the hobby. And so I just really enjoy it, and I get to do it at home. I get to do it for a living, and, it's just a wonderful thing that I get to do, and it's a blessing.
That's awesome, George. Now, I've got this footage of your beautiful shelf layout that you built that you operate on, and it's a Missouri Pacific theme layout, which everybody in the room can relate to because a lot of folks around here model that. And why is it that you chose Missouri Pacific way out there in Colorado?
Well, actually, I'm originally from the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Oh, there you go. I understand now.
I lived in Arlington, which is between Dallas-Fort Worth, right on the old T&P main line. And when I was growing up, we had this place called Safety Town, which was in the mall right across from the GM plant. And so I got to see trains going all day long. And Safety Town was a little thing that they taught people how to follow street rules.
There you go.
Well, I rear-ended somebody because I was watching the train, and they made me get out and walk. And so I was so bummed, but at least now I could watch the trains. And And when I walked in the hobby store, where I saw the first Mopac locomotive on the shelf, and that was the first time I'd actually seen a model of what I see in real life, and was just like, I gotta have that. And I took it home, and it was the first Athearn blue box, and put it on the track, put the handrails on it and everything, put it together. And then I got befriended the folks at the hobby store, and I was able to learn how to detail it. And that was the next part. And so appreciating the detail work that's in the locomotives, and that's kind of how I chose the Missouri Pacific. And as you can see, I have on my table.
You're liking this car right here, aren't you?
I'm loving that car, actually. I didn't get a chance to walk around the show, so that's exciting news. I'm going to have to add that into my heritage fleet, because on my railroad...
As soon as I'm done shooting that one, I'll send that one to you, brother.
Oh, that won't hurt my feelings at all.
It's all good.
But, you know, I've got one of my SW900s that I custom painted out there on the table, and I model 1978, not because it's of any particular year, but it gives the ability to match first and second generation locomotives of diesels, and I can model that, and I'm planning to do the White River route, which is the Carthage and the Cotter subs in southern Missouri, northern Arkansas.
There you go.
So it's just beautiful scenery, and I get to model railroad that I grew up with.
What could you add to that, Kevin?
You know what? The only thing I could add is, here we have two friendly arch competitors, right?
These guys
And-
are respected at their trade. They're both
and-
good.
exactly,
Their stuff is in 90%
exactly.
of the models out there on the market right now.
And what they just talked about is the juice for all of us. For all, and that's why we're all here in St. Louis, right? It's just
Yeah,
you know,
how about that, right?
we need trains.
All right, Jeff Otto, I see you sitting over there smiling all the time. You're on our first dollar bill that we got, and I got the same smile.
Well, I'm glad to
Don't
be here
cover
finally,
it up
Ken.
with a microphone, brother. I want to see those teeth. Now, you introduced something new at the show today, and that was a very well thought out switch system that Ed Dressel is helping you on. Tell me about this switch project that kind of reflects the old days of true track.
Well, thanks, Ken. It's called, we're calling it Roadmaster, and what it is, in a nutshell, is the ties for your track work are milled out of MDF. We're going to have frets of tie plates where you just lay down the tie plates. We're going to have our own line of frogs, throw bars, heel blocks, guardrails.
Are you seeing this in your head right now?
Yes, I am.
Good. Then send me those photos so everybody else can see them.
Right, and then so you'll be able to just lay it all down and build a turnout or piece of track work very quickly. We're also going to be doing diamonds for all you crossing fans.
And this is a wooden track system where all the details are already on the ties,
Yep,
on the woods. It's like the road beds there. It's Bachmann Easy Track on hand-laid steroids, right?
Exactly, and we're going to have any scale, Z, N, G, S, you name it, Proto 48.
That sounds absolutely
HON3
fantastic.
dual
And when's this
gauge.
going to be introduced to the market?
That's
How
going to be
soon?
ready in 30 to 60 days. We're going to be
That's
ready
pretty
to go.
fast.
You bet.
So your production time on this stuff is quick. So if you have a large order, you could fill it.
Yeah, we'll be able to fill it very fast.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Send me all the
Thanks.
information so we can show it off on this show
I
first.
sure will, yeah, thank you.
Okay, with that, switch with Michele and Kevin. I think we're going to talk to Matt Gentry because we've got Matt here from Athearn, and we've got the
Hey, Matt.
brand new honoring veterans SD60E.
That is correct.
Daniel, did I get that right? Where's Daniel
Where'd
at?
Daniel
He's
go?
way in the back.
Daniel's here, folks. He's not off the hook. He's going to get to fit a chair, too. This is my lovely wife, Michele Patterson, who opens up the July video. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But tell us about this awesome engine, Matt. We're going to be shooting a trestle photograph for Athearn with it that I've talked about in last week's show, and I've got to have that thing built the next 2.5 days and get it done by Friday, right, Chris?
And counting.
Okay, brother, I got this. All right, so tell us about this awesome engine, Matt.
Well, these are the locomotives for Norfolk Southern that they started rebuilding out of the standard cab, regular SD60 locomotives. They sort of reached the end of their useful life cycle, 20 plus years, and so they decided to start rehabbing locomotives instead of buying brand new locomotives, because when you can rehab a locomotive for $2 to $3 million compared to buying a new locomotive for $7 million, I think I'd take the rehab locomotive too.
That's fantastic. Yes.
They replaced many.
Keep on that microphone. Keep
They
right in there.
replaced a lot of different parts on these things.
There you go.
They totally overhauled the prime mover in them. It still has the 710 prime mover. They put different air compressors in them. Brand new cab, safety wide cab on them because they're originally the standard narrow cab. And just a couple of other, details here. They changed the dynamic brake intakes, and they put a what a lot of people call an F-unit fan on top of the inertial intake grill to help draw air into it. And it was sort of to help meet emission standards. They were required to meet Tier 0 plus emission standards, and I think with some of these upgrades they are Tier 1 plus, so they sort of went above and beyond the EPA regulations on the rebuild, which is pretty neat. Some good forward-thinking engineers over there at Norfolk Southern in the Juniata shops. But overall, we got a lot of requests for these locomotives, and whenever Norfolk Southern started doing these special paint schemes, I said to my manager out in Long Beach, California, I said, hey man, I got to go to Juniata and measure these things, and here they are. So,
It's absolutely
Nice.
a beautiful model. The cab is so unusual.
Aren't they?
Dude, you are a valuable asset to Athearn. The information that you know, watching you work at the trade show for the last 2 days, you are an asset. So
Thanks.
I really am glad I got to meet you, Matt.
Thanks.
Now with that, I'd like Bob Rivard to fill the seat here right next to Matt. Bob, come on in here. Bob Rivard from Wisconsin, right?
We're from Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's right. We've seen so much of your work, Bob, in Rail Model Journal. It's an absolute honor. It's an honor to have you here with us this evening, Bob. Your modules at the show today, I'm showing footage of those right now. They were absolutely beautiful. You had a three-piece with that crossover section, which kind of went across the whole table, didn't it?
I can explain that that area is an important area for me to model. And my co-modeler, Frank Jordan, has transported it with us down here. Fantastic. But that is an area known as the spine, the Rock Island Spine Line. And I wanted to model the Chicago Great Western, ex-Chicago Great Western enters Roseport Refinery, and the Soo Line gained access to that in 1968. So it's very important for me to capture that very correctly. And there's a little depot down there, and that's what you saw today.
That's awesome, brother. I respect
beautiful
your
model.
work. You've been writing for the
Amazing
model
work.
press for a good 27 years plus, right now?
It's been a while. Probably, maybe since 1981, since Bob Schleicher.
I love Bob Schleicher. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bob, it's awesome to have you, brother.
Yeah.
We love you, man.
Beautiful model.
I want to bring up the fact that we have Bachmann as a sponsor for the show. Bachmann trains from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And tonight we've got a product on the table, one of their tools. And this is a railing tool where you can put a steam locomotive onto your HO scale track very easily. And it's actually powered. It picks up power off the track. So the train can actually run right on and right off of this platform that you can then take and put your train on the shelf. It's a kind of neat little concept. I don't know what the price point is on it, but check it out at Bachmann.com or BachmannTrains.com, or check out their catalog. And next week we'll have in 2 weeks when we do our next show, we will have more Bachmann tools on the show. We also have Athearn for the sponsor tonight, and we're running the screen capture of these beautiful SD60E locomotives. These are just absolutely gorgeous. It amazes me the variations of paint and how accurate they can get these. So check these beautiful models out at AthearnTrains.com. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your support for the show. And with that, I've got my lovely wife, Michele Patterson, on the show this evening. I'm going to enjoy editing this because I get to watch you. This is great. Thank you for 30 years of this adventure in life that I've gotten to have with you. I will say it's absolutely awesome. But what I want to do say,
30 years, that's impressive.
That's awesome.
what I want to say is Michele opens up the July 2018 What's Neat over at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. She did that part where it's, What's Neat starts right now. And we got Raina to do it this evening for September, and you're going to enjoy that, and you can't see that until then. But with that, Michele, tell me, what is it like living with a model railroader?
You ready for this?
Choose your words
you want the
carefully.
truth?
Do you really want
Speak
this?
clearly into the microphone when you say.
Yes. Kiss the mic. Kiss the mic.
Well, when I met Ken and first went to his house, he had cleared out all the trains and replaced with office equipment, so I wouldn't think he was a freak.
The decoy.
So he shoved everything aside and put a typewriter right
He there,
there, right?
Wait, 1988. He had a typewriter.
Yes, I did.
And then, after I fell in love with him, I had no choice.
That's
So,
right.
but it's been great. We have 2 great kids. and-
Awesome children.
Yeah, and this is all just a way of life for me now, so it's great.
It's awesome. I really appreciate you being on the show with us tonight.
not many wives that would allow 50 strangers in their home.
We do have 50
Yeah,
people here
right.
tonight.
Strange,
That's
Strange strangers, yes.
Yeah.
There's always
Yes.
somebody in and going in and out.
Of all those photos, is there one that sticks out in your mind that was done where you kind of really liked it, even though you're not into trains like we all are, but you see them, you live with them? Was there something that sticks out in your mind, any one of the shots that we've ever done?
Well, I love all your work, Ken, but I think
That seemed very prepared.
They were
Almost.
practicing.
Almost.
The San Clemente Beach shot, that was great. Loved it.
Oh, the beach shot. Amen. Rock and roll. Let me show you some pictures of the beach right now. Terry Backus, the editor of the NMRA Bulletin, was here, and I was on a six-pack of beer when I built this beach. He had just finished mowing the grass, and he was inside doing some paperwork, and 30 minutes later, through a little bit of silicone caulk, we had the beach, pretty much San Clemente. We nailed it, because you took me there, you showed it to me, and I fell in love with it. So that's what that photograph was about, and maybe we'll show that. I think that might be in my water video at kenpatterson.com. I don't usually pitch my website on the show, but I just did. So with that, Joe Steimann, are you interested in being on the show this evening? Come on, sit down, brother.
He doesn't have much of a choice now.
Okay, they got me. I was just coming down to say hi, and I was on the show.
I mean, Joe is a very respected modeler. You've seen his company that he started, Weathering Solutions Decals, that now Eddie Bauer is pretty much running, but it's a good company. In fact, Kevin, you stock those decals
That's
in
right.
the store. You've got the big
We do.
decal right on the front. Look at this video of the store. See the decal? It's right there.
It's right there.
That's
There
a
it
big
is.
decal. But, Joe, that was a pretty darn good thing that you came up with, Weathering Rust Streaks. And you did a What's Neat show. Daniel, what show was that? Whatever What's Neat show it was. I watched it the other day.
I'm just way over there somewhere.
I know you are. But look at what you did with the Soo Line locomotive. Look at this photograph of this Soo Line locomotive. This is that video footage that's in one of the videos we did, where you just get out of Joe's way, because once you figured out how to make that locomotive smoke, you were doing Marlboro Reds, making that thing smoke, weren't you?
Yes, yes. Gave me a head rush, too.
I got that on video. What a great moment that was in Model Railroad video. Thank you, Joe, for that. But, what are you doing now? You're doing helicopters, aren't you?
Yes, full size.
Full size.
So that's been my last 2 years of my life.
Are we going to get you back into modeling trains for real? Because I want to see you do some segments.
I haven't sold everything yet, Ken, so there's still hope.
Wait,
hope.
you sold stuff. Do you still have that Mopec SD40-2?
No. I think that belongs to...
Oh, my heart's broken. That was such a beautiful model.
1522's gone.
Yeah, tell us about 1522. Here's some photographs of this model where Joe took a brass locomotive that was otherwise worth $350 and converted it into a $5,000 masterpiece, an exact replica in HO scale of Frisco number what? 1522. So there was photographs of that. We also had that in the This Is Nuts video doing a run by. That video's got over 600,000 views, if I'm correct on that. And that's also something neat to talk about, Kevin, the July video, which you are the sponsor of the What's Neat show at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
But that video received 31,777 views so far this month, and the month isn't over yet.
Right.
And this is supposed to be the slow season.
time. That's
yeah,
right. That's
so
good.
that's much higher than last year by a
Very
good
good.
10,000 views. So it seems like no matter what, the show numbers just continue to go up on both shows.
Yes, absolutely. Very happy about that.
And with that, I think I'm running out of stuff to talk about. Guys, you know what? You've been awfully quiet. Say something.
Oh, I'm just enjoying it.
I want you
really
to
am.
talk about this magnificent throttle system
We
that
can
we've got
absolutely
sitting
talk
on the
about
table
that.
right now.
Yeah.
This is that brand new wireless DCC system for your layout.
It is.
But the handheld throttle will also work with your NCE system and with your Digitrax system.
Absolutely.
So this is something cool that we can all participate in, and I want you to talk about that a little bit.
Sure, thanks, Ken. So this is the ESU cab control DCC system. So as Ken said, this is a wireless system. We reach out for the throttle here. Should have had it on ahead of time. So basically, it's the next generation of DCC. Now, it is DCC. It's not anything new and beyond DCC. We have a couple new features in it. So all of the ESU decoders have something called Railcom and Railcom Plus, which is basically two-way communication. Yeah, George isn't allowed to touch that, so bring that back over. Thank you.
I had the
My bad.
screwdriver. I had the
Man,
screwdriver
man,
out
I-
already.
Where's my stick? I knew there was a sticker on it.
Don't make me edit this out.
I knew I'd become collateral
Yeah, I
damage.
know. Yeah, well. So basically, we can. This is a system that can withstand 16,000 locomotives. You can put a picture of the engine within the system. Railcom Plus is pretty cool because, as I said, it's a two-way communication thing, and all of our decoders since 2010 have this. Basically, if you put a new engine with an ESU decoder on our system, it'll self-register, meaning that all the icons. Remember, this is a touch screen. This is an Android device.
It's a touch screen, right?
Rather than having
I
physical
used that last
function
night.
buttons,
It was cool.
Yeah. Rather than having physical function buttons, there are icons. So you can see, you don't have to remember, well, what's function 3 anymore? I don't remember from this engine to that. You know, sometimes the manufacturers change things up a little bit. We give them that option because we have fully flexible function mapping. Basically, when that is loaded, even if you've done your own function mapping and you want something special from one to the other, it'll actually load right onto the screen so you can see that icon. And if you want to get to the higher function buttons, I mean, you've used the other versions that are out there
Absolutely,
of DCC throttles.
right.
You have about 10 functions on your throttle, and it's kind of hard to get to those upper buttons. You gotta.
Oh, dude! When I was doing
stand on
this,
one
when I was doing the
leg and
sound
balance.
tracks video with that turbine, I had to go from F16 to F9 to brakes, you know, and all the sounds down to coupler crunch.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you couldn't do it. I couldn't do it with any of the current systems out there.
And we
I had to use
recognize
my
that.
cell phone, or else
Yeah.
that video wasn't going to come out.
Right.
So yeah, I know what you're saying about that.
So, I mean, being that it is essentially a cell phone with a knob, all you have to do is simply scroll up and down. And, you know, they're looking at, you know, being that we are a international company, we sell all over the world, so we have to have, you know, rely on the standards from all over the world. They're looking at going to up to 32 function buttons now.
Wow.
So some of those
That's
other
excellent.
systems, they're made for 28. You'd have to replace that or, you know, have another way to get to that. Ours, that's like everything we do, it's fully upgradable by just plugging it into the computer. So we can add an upgrade and add now 32 function buttons very simply.
That's fantastic.
So
Now, would you say this is easy to use? Can Mike Budde use this out of the box?
that might be pushing it, but most people could.
No, sir.
It's got to say Facebook
Might not
on
take
it.
So is that a yes?
Yes, absolutely.
It might
And
not
it's-
take long.
You know, the nice thing about it is everybody these days, for the most part, maybe even you,
Maybe.
have a smartphone.
Yes,
so
I
if
do.
you can operate a smartphone, you
Well,
can
I don't know
operate
how
this.
smart I am.
Well, the
And
phone
he
is
worked
what's
for the
smart,
phone
really.
company, right?
Right. As long as I can get that to work.
That's right.
Now, what's the price point of this system?
The system itself runs for $499 US, and then the throttle, which is sold separately, because as you said, it can be used. If you can use your cell phone now on the layout, you know, with JMRI and a Wi-Fi system,
Right.
You can use this throttle as well because it is Android.
Okay,
You
let's
can
back
download
up.
engine
$499. I get wherever that thing
Yeah, I
is.
see
I
you.
get this
Yeah,
thing right here,
Yep.
and then I also get a handheld throttle,
you get
right?
the handheld throttle, and you
And
get
then if I
7 amp
want
power supply.
additional throttles, like if I want 5 more throttles, because I have friends that come by,
Right.
that is $3.
About 300.
Okay,
yes,
good.
yep.
I got that.
Yep.
I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a pretty neat system, and I know that you've been trying to keep up with sales for going on over a year. on this.
We brought out the first ones in November. They sold out immediately. We did another batch of like 250, sold those out immediately. Then we had a tool break that caused a little bit of a delay. We got the tool fixed, and now we just last week brought out another 200. They were gone the first day we could start to ship, and I'm close to 350 back ordered right now.
That's absolutely
so
awesome.
they're selling well. It's the kind of everybody again, they're used to using this type of technology, but they don't have that tactile feel of a throttle and a button that you can program to whatever you want. So on a cell phone, you're always looking at your screen and you're missing the train going by. So this allows you can do it behind your back. You can have that tactile response.
How about that, Kevin?
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's a great product.
And you
Matt
stock
came
this.
up-
This is available at Caboose,
We
correct?
do. Matt came to our store last year and did a session for our guys on this and on the decoders and so yeah.
We were in George's backyard recording steam.
It's all right. Now, Matt, I have
We
a
get
question
along.
for you,
Deep into
Matt.
enemy territory.
Hey, Matt, over there, too.
I have a question. We were talking yesterday evening, and you said that you can get Skype on that screen.
You could. Actually, that's a great question.
Now,
because
so is that for operators that
you
are...
could. Basically,
state, or-
out of the bottom of the throttle. Well, actually, I didn't even go over the hardware here. The side buttons that can be programmed to whatever you want. It uses a micro USB to recharge. There's pads on the back for a charging station that's forthcoming, and then there's a audio and voice output jack so that you could hook up a headset similar to what we've got on, or maybe probably a little bit smaller. And then as you're operating, you could be on Skype with a dispatcher somewhere else, another part of the country or out of the country even. Or you could be sitting there watching Netflix while you're sitting in the siding.
So it seems like you guys really thought that through before you started.
Yeah, we tried. Yes, our looks are deceiving. We're smarter than we seem to be.
I'll tell you what, next I want to bring in Jeff
Thanks,
Parker from Central Valley. He was working the show today. Joe, can you switch with Jeff? Jeff, that's a wireless microphone right there. I don't have headphones for you, so you'll just have to hear us in the room.
All right, sound good.
Talk directly into the microphone. Jeff, how was the show for you today?
Well, we had a pretty good show today. We had a fire sale, so we got rid of a lot of stuff that I don't have to bring back because we're all packed up and ready to go to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Coming up. See everybody.
That's the Anna Murray National in 2 more weeks, right? In Kansas City, okay? We're going to be busy out there, aren't we? And I think this week you and I are going to do a photograph with your bridges. We're going to do some water scenes.
I'm going to put together a bridge.
We're going to do something really cool. We're going to have some fun and shoot some video, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely. I'm planning on Sunday to get tools together and figure out what we need to have in place and have a bridge completed by the end of Tuesday.
That's fantastic. So, Kevin, how's it going out in that beautiful state of Colorado? How's the store? I haven't been out there in about
Awesome
30
in
days.
God's country.
Since
We need
I've
to
been
change
out
that.
there, you got a brand new caboose.
We did.
And I understand you have the morning business meetings in the caboose. You light up the old stove out there.
Well, not this time of year, we don't.
Somebody lit the stove and told me it smelled good. So
Yeah, well, in the winter we do that.
It is
I mean,
Colorado.
it's Colorado,
Yeah.
but I mean it's still like 100 degrees. So we don't. We
I mean,
don't light
tell
it
us
this time
about
of year.
that. This has got to be a childhood dream. I guess not, because you actually owned a real railroad. What was
Yeah.
the name of that railroad?
Marquette Rail.
The
in
Marquette
Michigan.
Rail in
Right.
Michigan. You were
Right.
the proprietor of that incredible
The
railroad.
founder. It was employee owned.
Okay.
So our employees were majority owners.
You want to talk about that a little bit? You talked about that on podcast 24.5 a little bit. That was an encouraging interview that
What
you
do you wanna
gave
do?
to us.
Thank you.
What would you tell a young guy out there that's 14 years old that's looking for those aspirations in life, but he's got that goal, I want to own a railroad?
You know what? I had that conversation 2 summers ago. I think, at Indiana Transportation Museum, and I told this young man. He said, everywhere he goes, I think he was 16 or 17. He says everywhere he goes, his parents have been very supportive of him, pursuing his enthusiasm for trains. And I said, let me tell you something. I said, don't give up on that. Just, keep that fire, and you'll do whatever you want to do. And
Amen.
That's how-
It's just that easy. It's like when we talk to Thomas Heil, he's like, oh, you can't break a computer. They're easy. And you're just like, you know what? You want a railroad, do it.
Right. Exactly.
It's just a matter of
Exactly.
getting your ducks in a row, understanding your
Set
financing.
your intention, focus on that, and go for it.
Well, it
It's-
really
it's
helps
yours.
doing what you love too, because you don't work a day.
And you
in
do
your
what
life.
you love every
'Cause it's
day,
not-
George.
I do.
It's not
Every
work.
time I talk to you on the phone, you were my boss there for a long time making videos when I shot videos for you for almost 3 years. But not only was it fun working for you because you were a great boss, but you really do have a passion for trains. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. You're into it. What you do every day is a lot better than working at the dealership, remember?
That's exactly right.
You
I
said
don't
that
miss
in an interview for us one time.
I don't miss the Chevy dealership at all, because as the parts guy, you're the universal scapegoat and the reason everything's wrong, no matter what they tell you. And now everybody gets excited to see me when they come in, because they can, talk about their trains, talk about their hobby, and talk about their passions.
Right.
And so I get to do that for a living. And like I said, I count my blessings every day.
It's awesome.
That's what's neat about Joshua. And, his work is intense, too, and it's ongoing every day, similar to the dealership, I'm sure. But the fact is he's got this layout where he can break his, and not to mention the fact that his better half, Raina, sends him train pictures. So during the day when she's out and about doing her chores, if she sees a train, she sends it to Joshua at work, and he's smiling at Sugar Fire. There's another happy customer, right?
Sweet.
It's really neat how this all works out, because this is the greatest hobby in the world, and I've met some of those magnificent people in the last 2 days. I've better than 100 people came up. The folks from Australia, I've got a sound clip where they heard about the show on What's Neat and wanted to come here and be to it. I mean, they weren't making this up. Where's the gentleman from Australia at?
Tomo.
Just
Did they
left-
leave?
Just stepped
I
out a minute ago.
Okay. Well, if he comes back in,
I
he's
think
got
they're
a
putting
great
shrimp
story
on
to
the
tell.
Barbie.
17-hour flight. 17 hours.
Right.
And I asked him, I said, well, was the train show everything that you had expected? And yeah. Now we had, I'm blanking out. What's the name of that railroad that I can't pronounce?
Yosemite?
That's the one.
Valley.
The Yosemite Railroad. And the proprietor of that railroad was in here this evening, and his name is
Jack Burgess.
Jack Burgess.
Jack Burgess was here.
Jack Burgess was here.
Nice guy.
Here's an author who's doing articles for the model press for over 40 or 50 years. And now he's doing a lot of videos with John Abaticola over there. And I'm telling you what, it was an honor to meet him, and it was even a bigger honor to have him in my studio this evening. We were going to have them on the show, but they got an early flight out. So it was great to have you. I hope you come to next year's show, and I hope for you it was everything that you expected. And thank you for the awesome videos that you're making for all of us. They inspire me. All of your work. That layout is one of the most beautiful.
He's an artisan. I mean, hopefully we have some B-roll or something. We could.
I'm stealing
overlay
it.
that
I'm
because
stealing it from right now. Yep.
That he's an artisan, and that's they're when you and I were going around shooting layouts in Denver.
26 layouts. He drove 826 miles. Kevin did, and he listened to me for all 826.
Yeah, the
Long
826
miles.
The driving wasn't the problem. but I kind of classified those layouts into two categories. One was there are layouts that are like an operating museum display. Like a diorama in a museum, and they're just beautiful works of art. And then there are others like, and I think of oh shoot, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, on the other hand, we have layouts that are operators' layouts, that are nicely detailed, but they're operated like real railroads.
Absolutely.
And Jack Burgess's railroad is obviously both of those, which is pretty cool.
It's good to have a mix.
Museum
Yes.
quality
And balance.
models. He doesn't
Yeah.
even build a building unless he's got plans for it.
Right.
I mean, I've never seen. It's just amazing, Jack. Thank you for
beautiful
what
layout.
you've done this for all of us, Jack. If there's
That's right.
anybody out there who's done something for us model railroaders, thank you
Yeah.
very
Thank
much.
you, Jack. Absolutely.
So this is going to be a bit longer than normal. We're already past our 30 minutes at this point, but there's a lot of other stuff going on. Did the gentleman from Australia come in back yet? No? Chris Palomarez, is there anything that you want to say about the show today? You worked the show hard for 2 days. Michelle, you want to switch with Chris for a real second? Michelle, thank you so much for participating. I love you.
Get a room.
I do have to say really quickly while we're changing over, I mean, having a wife that appreciates model railroading and railroading in general is a blessing.
That sure is.
I met my wife, and I was kind of like, Ken was. I kind of hid the trains a little bit and didn't really want to put that out forefront. And she kind of got nervous when I made comments, and she said, wait, what do you have in your garage? I was like, no, don't panic. It's not that. It's model trains. And it turned out her father did that. Her father was a model railroader, HON3 and HO Rio Grande modeler, and so we just hit it off right away. And I actually met her while she was working at a hockey store. And so when I went in to buy new equipment, she was working there in trains. I was like, do I just need to buy you the ring now, or do we just go through the, or do we have to go through the formal dating process? So she's a blessing that she can appreciate it, and anybody who has one like that is got to count their blessings for it.
I work with mine every single day, and that is a blessing and a curse.
And she will be CC'd
Come on,
on this.
Abby's,
Oh, no, it's a blessing.
Abby's a sweetheart. Abby's an absolute
Absolutely,
sweetheart.
Absolutely. Same situation.
Mm-hmm.
We went on a 30-day honeymoon by Amtrak and Via.
Oh, wow.
So if we could go 30 days by train and she stayed with me for at least
Yeah.
that, all the way through that, I knew she was a keeper.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice.
Chris Palomarez, thank you for walking in on the microphone. Do you have headsets? You have headsets? No, you don't. You can't hear us
But I
talking.
can hear everything you say, Ken.
We hear you loud and clear as well in the headsets, Chris. Brother, how was the show for you this week? You showed off some really nice models. In addition to this, you also had that beautiful Amtrak in candy stripe. Am I describing that right?
All the credit goes out to Matt and his team. Yeah, come on in, Matt.
Matt, you are great, brother.
Craig Walker for putting together these models and doing
Craig
a lot
Walker's
of research.
my manager.
I'll tell you what, people don't realize how many years goes into researching, developing, approving, looking at photos, and just like dialing in every detail.
When did I drive out to Juniata to measure those? That was in October
I
of
think the Cubs-
2016.
I think the Cubs won the World Series. You know, it was something like that. And finally,
Yeah, I mean,
we
we're
have these two beautiful models on the table.
yeah, we're sitting at almost the 2-year mark on just one locomotive, and whenever you extrapolate that over like a different model that has many different phases and variations, I mean, it can take 2 to 3 years, and our customers, well, it only takes 6 months. I'm sorry, it does not take 6 months.
Well, maybe Matt from, you work with Bowser, and George, you do stuff with Blackstone. I mean, you could probably have some tales.
Oh,
of how
Blackstone. I love Blackstone models, George.
Yeah.
George, I love Blackstone models. Look at my layout. Look at what you've done to me.
Oh,
Look
I
at
know.
this narrow gauge down here.
I'm telling you, it's
and
infectious.
the books. I spent thousands of dollars on books. Once I discovered that and started doing the research on the narrow gauge, I built Leitner trestle for you guys. Tracy made me build Leitner trestle, and it was the most fun 3 months of my life.
That's a beautiful model.
And we recopied the Richardson, the famous Robert Richardson photograph of the last Rio Grande Southern train coming across this trestle in the snow. I mean, this is one of those landmark shots, like when Chris Palomarez and I are doing one, which we're doing that shot using this wonderful honoring veterans. It's going to come out
it's
dynamite.
It's a Norfolk Southern shot.
Yeah.
Do you know the name of the photographer for Norfolk Southern?
Casey Tomlinson.
Yeah.
Casey, we've been
Thomason.
showing off
Yeah,
your
good
photograph.
friend. Yeah.
So in your office, Casey, you'll get to hang up a model photograph of the actual prototype photo.
I think that should
So
send
I'm
you
telling you what,
models.
that'll mess with your mind. And we're
enough out of you,
we're
Matt.
messing with your
Steel
mind.
placards in there too with the military equipment. It's going to be a pretty cool.
Yes, I know.
If you donate the model, I'll donate the sound.
I can hold up half that bargain.
Hey, we can always split the sound 2 ways.
Yeah.
So we've got about 50 people here tonight that want to get outside to the bonfire and enjoy the cool weather because it's probably 110 degrees in here right now. But before I end this segment on number 43 here, I want to talk to the gentleman from Australia. And you come to the microphone over here and tell us your name.
Terrance.
Is this Terrance?
Terrance.
Yeah, I interviewed you at the show, Terrance. Holy cow, you know what? I already know the opening for this one. Terrance flew 17 hours to come to the United States to be at the Prototype Modelers Meet. And how did you hear about this? Didn't you?
I heard it on What's Neat, Ken.
You heard about this on What's Neat. So this really, truly proves the power of the internet. We're sitting down here playing with fire, and we're loving this. That you would come to St. Louis, and was the show everything you expected?
Oh, everything and more. It was big. It was great to talk to all the people, see all the models. It was fabulous.
We've got a lot of people that watch the show from down under. It's better than 400 folks that I got on YouTube that watch the show. And it's really funny. I can tell when you guys are awake because it's peaking. So it's really absolutely amazing. I'm glad you can come. Do you think you'd do this again? Is it good enough to come back?
Yeah, definitely good enough to come back. Well, it depends on time and all that stuff.
Now tell me, what do you model back home? What do you all do down there besides kangaroos?
I think we crossed a line there.
Yeah, something. But the Australian railroad is becoming more popular.
It is. Are there a lot of new manufacturers making product for that segment of the market? I'd like to see some of the narrow gauge ones in this country. Those are so neat, what you guys have got. Narrow gauge, modern General Electric locomotives running. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, there's a big variety of gauges in Australia, so there's a good variety of modelling choices there.
It's fantastic. Thank you for coming and visiting with us. It's an honor to have you in this country, and tell everybody back home we love them in Australia.
Yeah, oh, it's a pleasure, Ken. It's great to be here.
It's awesome. Kevin, what else do you think we ought to do before I close out 43?
I think we should run some trains.
We are going to do that, guys. So let's do this. Let's give a whoop, 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 and let's close out number 43, the What's Neat This Week podcast for July 21st, 2018, folks. This is the best hobby in the world.
It is.
Thank you.